joining us today. Would you just give us a bit of an introduction to who you are and your roles?
Yeah, so I'm Hugo and I'm the writer and director.
Hi, I'm Izzy Harradine. I was playing Yaz and also first AD.
Fantastic. I would kind of say, personally, big fan of dark comedy. I feel like it's a medium which can be sometimes a difficult balance to try and strike between the comedy and the darker elements and themes which we're exploring. How did that come together in the writing and overall production process?
I think generally it's quite hard to blend those two genres, as it is obviously, I mean, the darkness of it, and obviously suicide as a topic is quite, it's a tough subject, and I know people that have had their own sort of issues with depression and things like that. So it's obviously something that we want to handle with care. But the way that I handle my issues in life, I suppose, is through comedy. And I think it's just important to show that there are two sides to it, and that somebody like Dale, for example, on the outside is very positive. He's like a happy-go-lucky fella, but he's got his own sort of, he's had his own troubles with maybe depression or just grief and things like that. So I think it's important to show both sides.
Absolutely, and I think you do that very well, masterfully. I really enjoyed the exploration of the intersection of where kind of like isolation meets connection throughout the film. Were those two themes that you were particularly trying to draw upon? Yeah,
it's funny, this isn't supposed to be some dystopian world where nobody else exists, but it was like a thing on set where I was like, I don't want to see anyone else like in the background of any shot, and there are a couple of shots, I don't know if you saw it or not, where there are a couple of people in the background, and that still bothers me to this day. But I just wanted it to have that feeling of isolation, that it's just, these are the only two people in the world right now until they meet us, unfortunately for them. Yeah, I'm sorry, by the way, for my character. I do apologise. I'm not really like that most of the time.
What is it that drew you to the Isles of Skye in particular?
Google Maps, satellite. I'd never actually been to the Isle of Skye before, so I wrote an entire script just based off Google Images, basically, which was kind of insane. And then we went there 5 days prior to shooting to do like a location recce, and we basically just drove around the entire island like crazy people, just trying to find every single location that pinned on the map. And some of them worked, some of them didn't. So, I think 75% worked. So it's pretty good Google Maps.
And were you at the peril of the elements throughout the filming process, I can imagine?
Yeah, I mean, we were like fairly lucky considering that it's Scotland. It's known as the Misty Isle. And as you can see, there is a misty scene where they're kind of like on the edge of the mountain and whatever. But most of the time it was okay. Like there were some days where the crew and I were topless, like literally just getting a tan whilst filming. And then there were other days where we had like 5 layers on, so there was no way of really knowing. I had to be very, I guess, flexible with the shoot and just be like, okay guys, this is now a rainy scene. Even though I'd written it as like, oh yeah, they're like Sunday, whatever, but no, it's gonna be raining today, so that's what we're doing. And you just kind of adapt,
Yeah.
Oh, and midges, by the way, I don't know if anyone's been to Scotland, but midges, they're like little mosquitoes. They are bitches, basically. They really are. They swarm you and they attack you, and we have so much BTS of that, which I wish I could show, but.
Post-credit scene, maybe we can put together.
That or my music video, maybe. I'm excited.
So I believe you approached this with quite a bit of a skeleton crew, really. And did that kind of how did that play out? And did it kind of force your hand in any creative decisions along the way?
It was definitely a conscious decision because we didn't have the budget, but also because I was like, yeah, let's, I don't know, it's when you're shooting on the Isle of Skye and you're hiking every day and every location is remote, like you saw, it's honestly better to have a skeleton crew. I think we really had 6 crew most days, only 6 crew, and sometimes 7. So it was really, really, really small. But that allowed us to obviously, have fast turnarounds, get up the mountains quickly, get down quickly, and also not be a pain in the arse to anyone else that's, on the island. So we kind of wanted to, I mean, if we had more crew, it would have been great. We could have been more, I guess, creative with some of our choices and I guess our camera moves and all this sort of thing. But in the end, I think it worked the way that it did. And we managed to shoot it in 22 days, which I feel like if we had a bigger crew, it would have been 30 or 40 days.
So did the landscapes and scenery of Skye itself infer and work into kind of like how you were adapting? Did you adapt the script as you went, depending on the scenery?
I just left that up to the DP. I was like, "Do you think this looks nice?" And he was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Cool, let's shoot it." And
That's what you paid them to be there
and then the
for.
audience can make up their own mind. Yeah, it was completely intentional. Just looks good.
It does, it looks absolutely stunning, absolutely beautiful. So on the subject of food, obviously porridge gets discussed in there, pancakes gets discussed in there.
Did you not make some pancakes at one point?
I did.
Yeah, okay, you can answer this one.
Please walk us through your pancake scenario.
Pancakes.
Yeah, like, you're a big fan of pancakes?
Yeah, personally, we love a pancake. So we were by the lock on location,
Lock is Lake, by the way.
in case anyone didn't know, getting eaten by midges. So we had to hike, we had to get a boat to that location by the lock. It was on a small island. And then we had to bring all the ingredients for the pancakes and then create the pancakes on set and then obviously let the actors eat them.
And same with the porridge as well,
Yeah.
just making everything on set.
Yeah,
You're vegan as well.
keeping it vegan.
The lead actor, the lead actor who plays Larry, Calvin, he is actually vegan. So I wrote this script, thinking it'd be kind of funny, and then he turned out to be vegan.
Wow. All coming together.
That's it. He is the character.
Like a phrase which I often get told, and I've heard along the way through my life, is like, I feel like as you move through life, you meet the people you need when you need them along the way. Was this an element you were trying to portray? I feel like as he was going through the story, you met people that you needed at certain points.
Yeah, I think, friends can show up anywhere, anytime, in unlikely places. And I think this just was one of those scenarios, where it's kind of like he was the angel on his shoulder or the person that he needed in that moment. And I think he was very lucky to find someone like Dale in that moment, and he was just the person that he needed. Obviously, not everyone is so lucky, and but I do think that it is quite a human thing that if we see someone that's suffering, we want to help in whatever way we can. And I think, Dale's way of helping was kind of clinging onto him for dear life, because he'd given his dad, too much space, essentially, and he realized that is ultimately what led to his demise. So he decided not to make the same mistake, and maybe he was a bit extreme in his ways of clinging on, but he decided this is what he needed to do.
So I think as creatives, I feel like we can often, I think it's common to feel this element of like dissatisfaction with our work, maybe a bit imposter syndrome. I've personally gone through that myself, and that's what Larry is dealing with a lot, that he's dissatisfied with his writing. Was it important to you to highlight this theme? And I feel like as creatives, it's something a lot of us do experience throughout our careers.
Yeah, I mean, I put a lot of myself, I suppose, into Larry. And I definitely have moments where I feel like him a little bit, where you're kind of living vicariously through your stories and through I guess this creativity, and you're expressing yourself through it, but you're not really living it, and he's maybe not being present in his own life because he's getting lost in it. And I, for one, have been in a place where I've been writing script and I've not left my house for a month and not made contact with anyone, which is probably quite unhealthy, and I should stop doing that. But my most recent script I wrote in Spain, so that was much nicer.
Oh, nicer weather than the Isle of Skye, I imagine. So, question for both of you here now. In a hypothetical scenario, come to the end of the film, what do you think happened to Larry after the credits rolled?
Excuse my French, but I think he banged. I think he ended up with the girl.
The perfect ending.
sister.
What happened to you?
It's a really good
Did you have
question.
kids?
I think we did. I
Okay.
think we have about 3 by now.
3?
Yeah.
Wow, he's active.
Yeah. And we live on a farm.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, awesome.
Fantastic. Well, I think it's the perfect point to open it up to the audience if we have any questions.
Hello. Izzy, did you say you were the first director? CD, sorry.
Hello, yes, I was the first assistant director.
What were your responsibilities and challenges that you faced while filming?
Well, it was working with, was it 7 men? 6 men of the crew?
There were a few men.
Yeah, it was me and a
Many
bunch of men who were on location, as Hugo said, in the sunshine, topless quite a lot of the time, enjoying the sun. So it was me telling them to be, focus, do your job. No, I'm joking. It was a lot of shooting schedule. It was like our main sort of not issue, but it was very weather dependent. So there'd be days when we had a forecast for the next day, not knowing whether to shoot one scene or the other. So it was very much communicating with the director and the actors and deciding what the right choice was, and the DOP as well. And then, yeah.
What time of year were you filming?
We shot May last year.
May, June.
May, June.
Really cool.
Yeah. Midgie season.
Midgie season.
Yeah.
Bless. Thank you.
Thank you.
So obviously you two made an appearance in the film. Very funny, by the way. And so when you were script writing, did you think, oh, I want to write myself a little cameo, or did you write these characters and think, oh, I could play this, and is acting something that you'd like to pursue alongside this, or was it just something for fun?
So I actually auditioned myself. I didn't want to assume that I could do it, so I actually did film myself. Well, we filmed ourselves.
We did. Yeah.
For the role, I mean. We filmed ourselves, and we just had good chemistry on screen, and I sent it to my producer, and he was like, wow, why are you so good at that? And I was like, I don't fucking know. I kind of based it off my mum. So I was born in Essex, actually, and my mum, it just reminds me of my mum. So I was like, if I just played a male version of my mum, that is what it would look like. And there we go, and Izzy knows my mum, and it was just great, it was a lot of fun. But I don't know if I can play many other characters. I just know that one is almost me, pretty close to me. Yeah, exactly.
Any other questions?
So we're very new to the whole filmmaking scene, but one thing I've found when writing a script, once I've made the first draft, my head just gets flooded with doubts and this should be different, this should be changed, everything like that. Do you have any tips for actually getting through and getting a final draft of a script you're happy with?
I mean, I'm going to be a bit cliche and say something that a lot of people have probably said before, but trust the process. They say that you write this, you make the film 3 times, you make it in the writing, you make it on set, in production, and then you make it again in the edit. And I would argue that probably the most impactful process is the editing, more than the script even, because there are scenes that we shot that aren't even in the film right now. And there are sections of dialogue that I cut out because I thought, what the fuck was I thinking? I mean, even watching it now, I'm still what the fuck was I thinking? There are things that I would cut this down to 10 minutes if I could. If I would recut it now, I'd cut it down to 10 minutes, but that's probably just because I've seen it so many times. But I think really just trust the process, trust your ideas, and don't be afraid to let other people read it and hear what they have to say, and don't get defensive. I think probably the first script I wrote, I maybe got a little bit defensive when people gave me notes, because it's they're attacking your baby, they're attacking you, because you put so much of yourself into the script. But I think it's just a case of just trusting yourself and trusting the people around you to give you good feedback, and then work off that. And sometimes they'll give you good notes, sometimes they'll give you notes where you're like, actually that's complete nonsense, you don't understand anything, in which case just do what you want.
Thank you. And I think we've got time for one more.
Hi.
just out of curiosity, your character's the little musical number that he did, was that also your writing? Did you also write that song?
I did, yeah. I wrote it like 2 nights before, and I performed it to my friend in the kitchen, and he just nodded and went, "All right, that'll work." You know, I don't know if I should reveal this about myself, but I used to write music and raps, believe it or not. I was a rapper back in the day, past life. And I was actually contemplating rapping in this, and I thought, I don't know if that's Dean, so I did a little sing-song instead, which was like a love song to Larry, which I thought was cute. And there was a whole ballad as well. I get down on my knees, I'm like in the sand, like I was going crazy, but then I cut all that down, and I was like, fuck, this is not the Dean show. Let's just save that for another time. But yeah, I did write it, unfortunately, sorry.
Total bangers.
Fantastic. Do you have, is that all the, yeah?
Yes, that's all we have time for.
Fantastic. Can we please get one final round of applause for